Welcome to episode 64 of the official podcast for Guardian 1, a Destiny group dedicated to the prosperity of Guardians everywhere. We broadcast live Thursdays at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/Guardian 1 Network. My name is Remy, and tonight I am joined by Crimson.
Weapon parts.
Jez.
Good morning.
Agrios.
Greetings, Guardians.
And Sharks.
Please, let's talk Destiny, not Fallout.
We are going to be talking about all things Destiny, but first, housekeeping.
Hello, Guardians. Thank you all for listening to the podcast, however it is that you're choosing to listen. Be sure to follow Guardian 1 on Twitter at G1Net. That's G, the number 1, N-E-T. You can also take a look at the Guardian 1 website at guardian1.net. If you do a search on bungie.net for Guardian 1, you'll find our forums group, of which we'll also use for both comments and feedback. Once again, you can watch the show live at twitch.tv/Guardian1 Network every Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. If you can't catch the show live, you can search Guardian 1 for the iTunes podcast, as well as go into the Guardian 1 YouTube channel at youtube.com/Guardian1 Network. Guardian 1 is a proud member of the Guardian Radio Network, so be sure to check out their website at theguardiansofdestiny.com. There you'll find all of the different podcasts that's part of the network, including Aim Assist Gaming, TTL Party Chat, Robust Radio, Ghost and Echoes, as well as the flagship podcast Guardian Radio. Guardian Radio broadcasts every Monday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, on twitch.tv/Guardian Radio. You can also follow their Twitter account at Guardians of D and their YouTube channel, youtube.com/Guardians of D. That's all I have for now. Moving on.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Hollow River. Lots of stuff to talk about, but I wanted to bring up a couple of things that I've been thinking about the last couple of days. Actually, last couple of weeks, some of these things have they've come and gone as something that I think it would be interesting to talk about. And so the first thing I want to talk about is I was really excited when they started offering up the fact that you could track your bounties or even your quests, and then you could pull them up with your ghost. I think that's really a great addition. I was super excited for it, and until I started really giving it any thought just this last week, I kind of have just not been using it. Like, I almost felt like the bounties that I wanted to track weren't around long enough for me to want to go in and click them on. But then after I started thinking about it, I'm like, man, I'm going to talk about this. I want to know if these other guys are using this thing that's been given to us, because I swear to you, for the longest time, it was just 2 quests on that list that I was not actively going to go do at any point in time. And I just had them there looking at me, and I just kept thinking about it. Like, why aren't I tracking these quests? And part of me feels like it's because I got really good at just focusing on what I was going to do next, because I didn't have this tracking option up until, fairly recently. I just wasn't I just didn't use it. I just thought to myself, all right, well, I'm going here next. Venus, I'm going to be doing some Vex Minotaurs and some Taken. Like, I just know that this is what I'm going to do. But then after I started, as soon as I wrote it down that I was going to talk about it this week, I started using it, and it's awesome. So why don't we start with you, Sharks, as the person who plays the most Destiny among us, and has even gone so far as to shun the option of other games. I mean, even games as what must be a swan song masterpiece like Fallout 4. Have you been using the bounty tracker?
Not all the time, but every once in a while I do. It depends on what quest it is that I'm actually doing. But
so what is it that makes you think I'm going to have to track this, or is it just a case of convenience?
Well, no, the only time that I'm literally tracking is if it's, for instance, like my Crucible quests, going in there and having to know, oh, you got to do these specific steps to finish those quests. If it's just normal bounties, most of the time I don't. I'll just randomly flip to them. I mean, especially with like Crucible bounties, a lot of times I'll stack my Crucible bounties for like 2 days, and then I'll just go in there with 12 Crucible bounties and just sit there all day long and go on them. And because it will only track 4 at a time, there's no point then. But if it's an actual one of the quest line bounties, that's a little different story, because there's specific things that you have to do. Sometimes it has multiple things that you have to do in order to finish it, like the sword bounty quest. Same thing. I was tracking those when I was doing those.
Got it. Yeah, I just have been thinking about it, and those stale bounties just looking at me, and I thought, why am I doing this to myself? I should 100% be using this. And then I swear, just as soon as I wrote it down to talk about on the show, I started using it, and I started thinking, well, maybe it's a non-issue. Maybe it was just me. Crimson Warlock, do you use the bounty tracking feature in Destiny?
It kind of depends on, I guess, how new the bounties are. If there's some of the newer ones that have been with Taken King, then yes. But I usually track quests more than I do bounties.
Really, you track quests more than you do bounties. That's really interesting. I actually started that way when they first came out. I wasn't so focused on the bounties, but the quests were a big part. And you know what? That's how it happened. I was tracking quests, and then I stopped going through those quests. I finished 2 of them, and then I went on from there. That's interesting. Jez, what about you? Do you use the tracking option?
Well, firstly, I want to say, hopefully this isn't a swan song, because that usually means it's the last one. And secondly, I don't use it as often as I probably should. However, I know what I would use it for if it happened, and that would be test weapons. But
I don't think you can use the bounty tracker for the
no.
weapons.
I would use it more if I could use it with test weapons, is what I mean.
Oh, I understand.
Oh, that would be really cool.
It's the only time that I'm actively seeing, okay, I need this for, I guess this one's for Hive, so I'll use this for now, and it's like, it's not done yet, and go look and see how much it's done.
And it was something else instead.
Or if it's like one kill away, and it's like, oh, I should have had it by now.
Yeah,
yeah.
Those weapons definitely need to be marked, for sure.
Agrios, do you use the tracker in Destiny?
I do. Now, it was a lot more useful to me when leveling through the quests, the new stuff, the new content with each new character. Now, once I have a character up to speed, so to speak, with everything, where he's just more or less doing the weekly things from this point on, it becomes a lot less useful to me. I will use it, like Shark said, a little bit for like the Crucible. If like there's certain kills I got to do certain ways in the Crucible, I'll keep that track so I can keep track of where I'm at with that. And I'll use it for like the longer term bounties, typically like the black ones that you get from the Dreadnought, that like, maybe it's kill 10 Cabal Majors or Ultras without dying. Okay, so I might track that just so I make sure, see how close I am, like work toward that. Just so it's on my list sometimes and I don't forget to do it while I'm in a place. I'll tag something like that. But yeah, I used it a lot more with my quests than I did my bounties.
Got it.
Like for instance, like getting the ability kills to work on my exotic sword quests. Things like that. I tracked those so that as I work through them, I could check my progress by just tapping the ghost real quick instead of having to go in through the menus.
This brings up a good point. It almost feels like bounties are an early game model where experience is important to you, so completing these bounties are important to you. And like you were saying, you were getting these characters up to speed, but once you got them there and they were just worried about weekly things, it wasn't such a deal.
Even then, it wasn't the bounties or the experience for me. It was more just, what do I need to do next? I tag them just to put the different colored arrow on my map. So like, if I want to go I'm looking at my quest, I'm like, okay, I want to do this one next. It's like a to-do list. I tag them. And then when I go out to my map, the things I had tagged would be pointed out with the different colored marker. So that's how I would organize what quest I had to do and find out where it went real easy without having to read it and see, okay, it's at this planet. There's a different colored marker, so I knew it was at that planet. So I used it for quests and stuff more like that while I was leveling them up.
Got it. That sounds pretty cool. I like that a lot.
I got another way they could improve it a bit. Let us track them all, but only show like the first 4, so that it just populates the next one that you tracked.
Interesting.
You know what? I think they would have a more elaborate system, but I'm going to go ahead and call last gen limitations on that.
I'm pretty sure there's a drinking game already in place where someone says last gen limitations, so you just take a shot.
Well, we all know Agrios would be plastered all the time then.
As a matter of fact, he would probably stop talking about it. He'd start blaming it on other things. Look, man, I just can't do it. I know it's last gen. No. It looks like also Divulge 22 says not much, running some salvage games. I need 2 wins for the Crucible line. Nope, that's not what I was looking for. He says that he mainly only uses the tracker for bounties. And Infamous Band-Aid says he did at first use the tracker, but then kind of forgot about it. It sounds like the same thing that you're talking about, Agrios, and it might even be the same thing that I'm talking about. At some point, bounties become less important, and so it's not as important. Strider is in the chat right now, and he says, "Morning, Guardians." More importantly, he says he's taken time off of Destiny because he has some issues with it. And I was hoping that he would give me an idea of what it was that he was having a problem with so we could talk about it on the show. Because Strider, I don't know, I'd like to get his numbers, Sharks. I'd like to see his numbers and your numbers side by side, because while I'm certain that you are still winning, he's got to have quite a bit.
Yeah, Strider plays a lot.
So thank you very much, Infamous Band-Aid, Mystic Rose, Strider, Divulge 22, and also Wolf Bible for chatting with us in the chat right now.
Yeah. While we're mentioning Strider, I know he's been streaming a lot more. So if you're interested in checking out some Destiny streams, someone who likes to Sherpa, help other people out, and do interesting things in Destiny, you should give Strider a check out.
Right, and he's got a really cool accent too. Like I don't know we have anybody else with his accent in the group. So definitely worth just listening to him talk about stuff. Let's see. I also wanted to talk about Destiny's endgame. And I feel like you guys will kind of get this feel for what I'm talking about. And I saw Martin, Destiny Overwatch, was talking about he hasn't really felt the need to do the raid or trials. Like he doesn't feel the push for it. And coming as a player from year one, I really see this whole thing in front of me as well, even though I still need to do the raid, even though I've never been to the lighthouse and I don't have these things in front of me. It feels like I'm not interested in doing that because there's nothing other than getting these treats. Like I don't see what the purpose of putting out so much energy into this grind for gear that is just going to get me to a higher level, and for what? And I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, and I feel like Bungie needs to pull Destiny in the direction of the way I've trained my dog. Okay, this is how I thought about it, and it might be a horrible analogy or way of thinking about this, but so when I got my dog Shiva, my girlfriend had a dog, Kira, and this Kira dog was this amazingly talented boxer, but she would only do tricks for treats. She would dance on her hind legs, and she'd lay upside down dead. Like she did really awesome stuff, but she expected a treat. And I watched this activity between trainer and dog, and I thought, this is not how I want my dog to be. I do not want my dog to only do tricks for treats. I wish to trade her tricks for appreciation. And so I taught my dog that the treat she got at the end of doing a trick was good girl, Shiva, and I'd give her some nice pettings, and that was what she clung to. That's what she was looking forward to after she did a treat or after she did a trick. And I feel like Bungie would do well to move the end game content away from gear and move it into Destiny's real strength, which is its community, which is getting to play with your friends, and which is, like it's the downtime that I feel is it's there much more often than is raiding, than is, end game PvP. Destiny needs to move away from do this high end content to get this gear to do this high end content to get this gear because there's something else out there that you're going to want to do. And so the things I keep coming back to are like a Nightfall style patrol. A Nightfall style patrol where you would really need to even one person, two people, 5 people, 6 people. I want it to be something where you're doing this activity not for some end game gear, but because you want to do it for some other reason. I haven't really figured out what this other reason would be, but I think taking away the need to get higher gear is important. And in the long run, a lot of these people who even want to just keep pushing for gear, they keep coming back really disappointed, very disappointed. I'm on Twitter a lot. I'm reading people's explanations of what's going on. And when people do something like hard mold Golgoroth, and what they get is some kind of moldering shard or moldering shards, they're really not happy about that. And so the treat is rancid at this point. The treat is not worth it to people. But if there was more of a focus on something fun just to do for something fun. Another thing that I keep thinking about is what if there was faction wars? Like, I know we've talked about faction wars on the show previously, but can you imagine if there was, instead of Iron Banner, which is, basically it's join random groups of people and get these things done, or Trials of Osiris, which is really needle down 3 people versus 3 people, no matchmaking. What if there was a larger scale battle, even just 6-6, even though I don't feel like 6-6 is a big team battle, even if it was just 6-6, but it was based on party lines. It was based on some kind of like a larger thing. Like, imagine if what the treat was is you want Dead Orbit to win, so you go out there and you win matches for Dead Orbit. Dead Orbit wins, they get some kind of, like a Festival of the Lost style decoration throughout the tower, and this is what people see. This is the goal. You don't actually get anything out of this other than understanding that you either helped or did not help enough for your side to win. Like you could even get like a cool shader or a participation award or a frickin' mask. I don't care what it is, but Destiny needs to move away from this get better gear, because I don't have the fire in me to go and get into a group to go and get those things, because I don't see what the point of it is for, especially when coming from year one, all of the gear that I put blood, sweat, and tears to get is just trash. And it's trash I can't throw away. I don't want to throw it away because I put so much time into it. Destiny needs to move away from this because I want to continue to put in good hours. I want there to be something to work for that means something, but it can't be gear. It can't be, because otherwise you're going to have this power creep, and then you're going to want people to get back into primaries with elements on them. And I think that there needs to be something else. So now that I've said all of this, I would like to start with Agrios. Agrios, do you feel the same way as Martin? Are you thinking there's really no point? I mean, I know that you still are. I know that you still are out there, and you're still raiding, and you're still getting better stuff. But does what I say make sense? And have you felt it coming from year 1 to year 2 that it's just better gear it's not worth it? Like, do you need something more? Do you have an example of what that something more could be?
I think, okay, different parts to my answer here. One, I want to touch on like what you said as far as like the community driven things. I think, yeah, there could be way more of that stuff that doesn't even a word tangible gear. There's already enough space issues with that unless they somehow rectify that further. But yeah, like you said, banners up throughout the tower of whatever faction won last week's, and I'm still with Jez on that. Where I'd love to see like 3-on-3-on-3, you know, New Monarchy versus Dead Orbit versus Future War Call, you know, battles. That would be really cool. But yeah, you know how kind of depressed I was when a lot of the things changed with 2.0, like everything from them super nerfing by 50% or more the perks from the year one weapons to make them just not viable anymore in Crucible or whatnot. After they did angle to the point where, you know, you getting things was part of the benefit of you being there. You know, you get these shaders because you're a veteran and this and that and the other thing. And they always kind of touted that, you know, things were always viable in regular Crucible, but then they kind of keep changing the direction they're going with these different things. So it makes it hard to feel like you effectively used your time, because you may have used your time to manage something a certain way because we were given expectations of it being a certain way or continuing to evolve in a certain direction, like, you know, with Etheric Light being able to bring our gear up. And part of like what they wanted to do with gear was they said they wanted to be more immediately usable. They wanted you to feel like, you know, you were enjoying using your gear as you were leveling it up. So they moved the exotic perks to be already on the exotic, and you level up everything else having to do with the exotic now. So that's the one thing that has remained, but they've gone back on a lot of these other things now. A lot of these things that they're supposed to be, you know, not be barriers to using a weapon. For instance, now you have to infuse a weapon up. So you might get a weapon that's a cool weapon, but it's dropped to 260 something later, something like that. So now you have to find a whole bunch of guns to infuse it up to where it's usable in, like, you know, heroic strike playlist / you know, end game content. So I feel like for as many barriers as they've taken down for a lot of these things, they've put barriers back up. And I don't have hope for more vault space. Since the old gear can't be continued to be usable, collecting things is just hopeless. It made me kind of sad that I'm on the verge about to delete a bunch of my old Iron Banner gear and stuff like that, just because there's no more room. And if I want to continue to enjoy the game, I need space for this gear. And that's just another problem of it being a gear-driven game. Like you said, it's a gear-driven game with anti-gear properties. It's kind of a weird place that it's getting to, and I hope they figure out a direction to solve it. I'm hoping that it's, once again, that last-gen limitations that are causing a bit of this issue. So,
you know, what I've been doing to get past the sadness of getting rid of gear is I've just been doing like I will do a still shot with the name and properties. I'll do a still shot of that same screen without the name and properties, and then I'll do like a 360 video, like a really quick, you know, 6 to 10 second video, just so I have this memory. You know, some of this stuff I really enjoyed gathering, but yeah, there's just not enough room to keep it. There's not enough reason to keep it. And I almost wish that Bungie would give us what they think people are supposed to be doing with this. Like 72 slots when you have nothing is a huge amount of space. Like watching Flounder play or my 7-year-old, like they both just don't have enough gear to make the 72 slots, you know, even make sense to have. So I'd like them to show us, you know, what does it look like for what should a player be doing? Oh, you know, I don't need my Vault of Glass gear anymore. I'm not going to do that. Are you deleting that? Are you just deleting everything? And I'm having a hard time letting go. And at the same time, I realize that I have to let go. Like I have to bring in this new gear, and it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't sit right. Sharks, what do you think about this? What do you think about end game? End game, here is this harder activity to get gear, so you can do a harder activity, so you can get gear. I feel like there needs to be a way to capitalize on, like my favorite part of Destiny at this point in time is hanging out with Agrios when we do our dailies, and just shooting the shit in the tower. Like that's what Agrios and I do for most of our time, is we just talk about, like, I've been practicing doing a jump from the grass to the top of those bars that go down right next to the bounty guy, and then jumping over to the other side. Like, this is what I've been doing in Destiny that's been taking up the majority of my time, is trying to perfect this double jump over that. And so, is there something for you that would make it more appealing, or are you still good with this, or what's going on?
Well, I mean, everybody knows I'm not good with how the Taken King came out. I'm not good with the RNG aspect of it. In fact, most of everything that Bungie has gone and changed in the game has pissed me off beyond belief. And people like Strider that say, they want to take a break from this game. Man, I totally get it. Because you sit here and, I mean, the beginning when first Taken King came out, there were a lot of us that were grinding as much as we could, and some of us more than others because of how many hours we have to be able to play this game, just trying to get the light level so that we could get into the raid.
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys know how much I play. I couldn't do it. It took probably an extra 5 days for me to get to a point where I was viable to go into the raid, compared to some of the other people that we know that don't even play as much as us. And so I think that RNG needs to be changed. I've had some ideas that I'll get into a second. As far as like what drops during Nightfalls, PvP matches, Iron Banner, Trials, the raid, it's all a bunch of baloney. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that people have to grind for hours to maybe get a chance to get something, and then maybe not get anything at all. A lot of our Guardian 1 clan have been doing the raids, and they've been like, oh, I'm getting shards. I'm getting these moldering shards. That's all I got. They might have gotten one gear somewhere in between the raid, but that's not fun for people, and especially when you're trying to grind for this gear that you have to have in order to get higher light. And I know that Luke Smith, he posted, quite a few weeks back, the end game for people really is 310. Well, then why make it 320? So, and then the other thing is like, why do it that way? Why not just make everybody, if they play so many hours and they do PvP matches or doing bounties and whatnot, they'll get up to the light level and then actually do something with your gear. It makes it so that your gear it doesn't matter as much. I mean, you can pick different gear to have different stats on it, but everybody's going to be able to get up to that light level. Because
I really agree.
Yeah.
I really wish that light level wasn't tied to which weapon you were using, so you could feel free to use whatever weapon you were most comfortable using instead of what one you had to be a certain level.
Exactly. Well, and especially when you have to consider all the stuff that they were promoting before the Taken King came out. It was, okay, we're going to do everything we possibly can to make light not matter so much, which is a bunch of BS. And we're gonna make sure that you guys have the opportunity to wear any gear you want. Well, you know what? That's actually a lot of BS too, because I have guns that I've gotten through raids, and I have like cloaks and stuff or ghosts or whatever, and in order for me to be that highest level, I have to use that specific gun, or I can use it to infuse something, but lose a huge chunk of light because I don't have anything in between to match it up. So they've made it really, really difficult. I don't think that light should. I don't think light should be hindered by finding a specific weapon or finding a specific gear. Just give it to everybody. And then what they should do is every single thing that you do out in the world, whether it's a PvP match or a nightfall, you can start getting customizable things. And I don't really play. I haven't touched Halo for years and years and years, but Halo has a really great thing going for them in that you can color different aspects, and I know Remy's talked about this, coloring your gun, coloring your ships, make it so that the stuff that you get for end game is stuff to really do stuff to your actual Guardian. And then it won't matter so much. So if somebody wants to go in and complete the raid one time, so be it. They've done it with their friends. Those people that want to go back and do it over and over and over again with their friends, they're going to be getting these quote unquote rewards that give them the opportunity to make themselves look different and actually be different out in the wild. And the more you do it, the more chance you have of getting different types of things that actually are customizable, because then you're not going to be stuck on this gear. You're not going to be so pissed off when the next DLC comes out and you have to delete everything. I mean, I have been telling Agrios for weeks, oh, I've deleted something else. I mean, I'm literally down. The only thing that I've kept from past DLCs is I've got my original Iron Banner helmet for all three Guardians, and I have my Shadow Price, I have a sniper, and a machine gun, and those are just and I have all my my burn guns, which I just can't. I haven't been able to delete yet, but I'm just keeping them for no reason because they are kind of pointless, and it really pisses me off that I in order to really run with the big boys right now, you have to go and grind stuff. In fact, one of our Guardian 1 members, Jaded, he turned around to Caleb and I a couple weeks ago, and he said, oh, you just need to go in there and grind the beginning part of hard mode, because then your light will slowly go up, and then you'll be able to do hard mode. I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. Why are they... There's still no guarantee that you're going to be high enough. I know people that have gone through the entire hard mode raid and gotten diddly squat. You're not even guaranteed a 320 item. In fact, one of the items I got during hard mode was a 302 pair of boots. It's like that they're just putting so many limitations on everybody, and it's pissing people off. That's my thoughts.
So, Live Life to the Fullest says, I think if the RNG was more favorable, it would make me want to play it less. And I can understand this point of view. I don't feel the same way, just because I feel like with introducing blue weapons that had a greater attack value than legendary weapons, I feel like RNG was much more favorable. I feel like instead of having to find a weapon that was better and then just stick with that until you found one that was just better, I feel like the turnover of weapons and the RNG favor has been increased dramatically. And so I feel like if I felt that going through the raid wasn't just going to produce a bunch of moldering shards for me, which is funny because, if I remember correctly, the Year 1 raids had that same problem. People were pissed off that all they were getting was shards. And so I see what you're saying, Live Life to the Fullest. What do you think about that, Sharks? Do you feel like how many times have you run it?
I've completed it 5 times.
Okay. You've completed it 5 times and you've gotten everything that you want out of it. Would you no longer want to play it anymore? Would you not see the point in playing it anymore?
No, because, in fact, I can't remember who it was that asked on Twitter the other day, but I responded. I think it was Bell Bunny. She does her daily questions, and she asked what has been one of the most memorable things that you've done. And I said one of my favorite things was actually going through Crota Raid over and over and over again, whether it be two-manning it with Agros, soloing it, dragging people through that couldn't complete it at all, just doing that over and over and over again. And there was at the end, I mean, shoot, not even at the end, halfway through that DLC, I had every piece of gear, every gun. There wasn't going to be anything that I wanted, but I would still do it. And I think that's the same. That would be the same now with this Oryx raid. I would still do it because you're doing it to get better. You're going to do it so you can get faster times. You're going to be bringing other people through that haven't done it before. Now, I realize that there are people out there that don't have that same mentality. And there are people out there, there are even people in our clan that say, okay, I'm kind of done with this. I'm going to move on to another game until the next DLC comes. And yeah, so be it. That's how some people are going to be. But the way that Bungie has made this game at present, there really is, like you say, there really isn't any point in going through and grinding to get the better gear unless you think that better gear is going to make it easier for you to do. But that kind of takes away from the fun of doing the raid. The fun for me is just completing it with friends.
Okay, so yeah, so what you're saying is essentially what I was saying too. Like, you got all of the gear already, you got all of the stuff that you wanted, and your purpose for being there, for doing it again, was that so you could help friends through. And so it was basically, you were doing it for the appreciation. You were doing it for the thank you very much for helping me through this, Sharks. And I bet that fucking tasted better than any of those pieces of gear, especially after how many times you ran it prior to that. Agrios?
Yeah, totally.
I think that, okay, this goes hand in hand with what you were saying about the Destiny's problem is being, gear driven, but then not accommodating that gear system appropriately, or not even being able to in the case of Vault Space. And I think what could help it, well, sticking with the gear, I think one thing that could help it would be is if they could still allow some sort of re-rolling system. One of my biggest problems about Destiny is that for your particular playstyle, certain particular gun setups may work really well for you, and you may have a lot of fun playing with that particular gun setup. Like, I like to have a sniper rifle that has surplus on it. Some people, might be, pulse rifle people. Some people might be hand cannon people. But the problem is, if your perfect setup doesn't happen to be being sold by one of the vendors, you have no way to work toward getting that gun that you want. The only thing you can do is just earn more engrams and get a random selection of every gun or piece of armor in existence. You can't say, I want to work toward a reroll of that gun. And I think if they added more sustainable loot to the end game loot tables, like the raids, for instance, like, instead of you getting this one specific gun or getting a chance to get this one specific gun, if you got an item that let you get one of what you wanted out of it, instead of completely random from a huge pool of different things, it would make a lot more people a lot happier. Like, if, before, I don't know if their problem was that the people who had more time could simply earn more materials and re-roll their guns into perfect versions of their guns, and maybe the people who are more casual couldn't, and that was their problem. But if you make it so that you can only have a chance, like, say, through the raid to earn 3 of these tokens a week, you can only do 3 re-rolls a week, at least you can say, I want to try to get a different version of the Hawksaw, and use your 3 tokens to get 3 new versions of the Hawksaw instead of whatever random thing of all the weapons in the tower that the engram chooses to give you.
But there's something else that we're not addressing. Even if they fix that, what they've got going right now, they have an issue with making your gun completable in some of these, like for instance trials. For the way that I'll explain it is, I have a hawk saw, and it was one. It's actually a pretty decent rolled one. I got lucky, but there are potential better rolls out there, and I was sitting on it at I had leveled it up to 300, and I was sitting on it at 300 for a very, very long time, and I didn't want to make it a higher number, which would have helped my light, for instance, for trials. And the reason I didn't want to is because in order to upgrade it, you had to have gotten that higher gun, a higher primary, somewhere else. And of course, that one somewhere else is going to be the raid, most likely. And so I didn't want to infuse that 310 into that gun, because what if my next drop I suddenly get that hawk saw that I've been waiting for? Now I'm screwed, because now it's a 280 hawk saw. And in fact, that's actually why my vault is full of all kinds of exotics that aren't upgraded, and they probably never will be, because it's not easy. It's very, very time consuming, and you're basing everything off of RNG to even just upgrade stuff. And exotics are the worst thing to upgrade. But I agree with you.
You could put dozens into one exotic and then turn around and pop a 310 version out of an engram and have all that work be wasted.
Yeah, and that's why I haven't even done it. And I mean, that's just exotics, you know. So having the end game reward just giving you those guns isn't good enough either. And I don't think it should just be raids as end game. I mean, they're always saying that Trials is end game, Iron Banner is supposed to be end game. And as Remy tweeted out what Bungie said this week, Nightfalls are end game rewards. So why aren't we getting that stuff there too? But I think a system like what you're saying would be viable if they fix the infusion also.
So I agree. They do need to fix infusion. The second thing I was going to say, and this touches back on the community issue type things, as far as replayability of raids and things go, would be, I always thought Destiny was lacking challenges that should be there. Like, for instance, Borderlands, for an example, has a ridiculous array of challenges you can do. Now, Destiny does have the trophies, a very small, very easy to earn, except for, like, the Flawless Raider is a little bit tougher than the rest of them, but still a pretty weak selection of trophies. And then their challenges would be equivalent to their Grimoire, which basically amount to kill a certain number of this enemy and, rinse and repeat for every other enemy. And then, kill so many with this weapon type, kill so many in the Crucible. Nothing very overly creative or inventive or, maybe elaborate or skill-based. I'd be interested in having more interesting challenges that could be ticked off. And you could, a lot of those could involve doing the raid certain ways or killing certain bosses. And I think that they're going to get there with this challenge mode coming up. But I get the also feeling that the challenge mode's probably going to be more limited to special events, as in each of the bosses in the raid has one challenge that you get a special reward from. Whereas what I'm talking about more is a huge list of things involving things all throughout the open world and stuff like that. And I think, a lot of them could use a fire team or necessitate a fire team to coordinate to even accomplish. And that would involve a lot more community action and interaction. And you'd see, teams of people who have everything from the raid just setting up each week to go through to do the big, huge list of potential challenges that are there to do.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. What do you think, Jez? What do you think about this end game deal where it's get gear to grind gear to get gear to grind gear? Do you have an example of something that would make the end game feel better for you, or are you happy with where it is, or what are your thoughts there? I think you're muted, or he's sleeping.
You lost Jez.
Yep, he's sleeping.
Sort of sleeping. I was slightly waiting throughout all that just to say something, and I completely missed my cue. So basically, just like most RPGs, WoW has a similar system, but you complete one raid to get the next level up to complete the next raid. It's kind of how it was for Vault of Glass going into Crow's End. Now, the problem with that in our current system is that everything drops at random light levels between, like, on the, like, 300 to 310 or from 310 to 320. So you could get what you want, and it's at a low light level, and then you still feel like you've lost. You following me so far?
I am. Continue.
I think the issue is that the system that would benefit most in a game like Destiny is something like Guild Wars 2. They have all their max level armor, the exact same stats, just different focuses on stats, but the same amount of stats. So you could do one dungeon and get, I can't remember what the stats are, but 20 of one, 10 of another, and it's at 310. Everything drops at 310, and the difficulty is based off of the game itself, not based off of not having the right amount of armor.
Okay.
That's exactly. I totally agree with that.
How would you think they would implement this? Like, what's the easiest way you see for them to add something or change this in the game?
Well, currently I don't know if they can do it because there's so much investment already built into it. They would have to do another gear reset, which they would do anyways, but they would have to make it so the max that you can get is like the max that you get at even the dungeon / vendor level. Like, the best part about Guild Wars 2 is that to get that, the high end, which is actually the best armor you can get in all the game, you just did heroic dungeons, and they gave you shards that you turned in to buy the piece of armor you wanted. Now, completing each dungeon gave you a different look. So the entire end game for Guild Wars 2 was not about finding the best armor. It was about finding the armor that you like the best, that looks the best to you.
That sounds awesome. Let's play that. Is that still going?
Yeah, it is. It's actually, expansion just came out. And guess what? They didn't up the level cap. The same level cap. They just added more stuff.
Interesting.
I think they got the whole, like, randomized perks thing right. Like, I like the fact that, you know, all the different weapons in Destiny have a lot of variety, and, like, depending on your play style, you might get a weapon that suits you one way or another. And the same goes for the armor perks. But the level being tied to them is what throws it all out of whack for me. Like, I wish you just had a solid level that was tied to either just straight experience gain, like that level 40 would be your actual level and that'd be it. Or even you could have just a level type thing tied to what you've completed. Like, once you've completed, you know, the for your heroic strike, that moves you up to the next tier or level, and once you've completed a nightfall, that's another one. Then once you complete the normal mode raid, that's another one, and hard mode raid's another one. But once you've beat it, you've obtained that level, and you're at that level. And the only thing different about all your gear then is the perks. And I mean, that would truly give you freedom to, like, play with what you wanted, how you wanted, look how you wanted. Everything like that, all those freedoms that people would want, and people would, like he said, just go out and earn gear just to get it. Oh, I want the complete set of this. And I mean, I like it when games even put, like, set bonuses in, but then you start to force people once again to wear certain things to just get a set bonus. So I digress on that.
So I think I should say a little bit more about Guild Wars 2, since this is going to bring up a little bit more interesting talk. Every time you equip an armor piece in Guild Wars 2, you unlock that armor style that you can then apply to anything that you have with, like, something you...
Like DC Universe Online does, that a lot of people on consoles might be familiar with, that they work the same way.
For microtransactions, or you get it for free. So like, you just get, like, I can't remember what they use it. I can't remember what it was, but basically you just click a button and it says change the style of it, and then it opens up a menu of everything that you've ever equipped, like all the different styles. And all those styles were based off of the actual item. So that was another transmogrification that was in it as well. And what is it? I had a second point to it that was further going to help, but I think I've lost it in my first explanation. Basically, you could get whatever armor you want, focus on whatever stats you want, or you get whatever look you want. And then eventually you'll have both, and then you can match whatever style you want with whatever... Oops, something's playing. Whatever you play, or whatever way you want to play. So you look how you want, you can play how you want, and then you could still go around and collect more styles without filling up your vault space, but it's also last gen limitations issue there. Basically, everything that you do is slowly earning your way towards whatever you want to do, as long as you're like completing things. So you're never not going towards the next thing. Whereas Destiny, every time you run the raid, you'd be like, well, I ran the raid, I didn't get anything, that's alright, but I also got nothing that will promote me to get further in the future.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right, Crimson Warlock, what do you got on this end game talk? Are you pleased with the system the way it is now, or do you have an idea that would make things better? Because really, I don't want to expend the time and energy to raid. I don't want to expend the time and energy to play in trials. I'm going to do both of these things at some point. At some point, the barriers in front of me will lower themselves, and I will be able to do these things. But as far as making it a huge part of my focus, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I need something else that will propel me, something else that I can do where the true strength of Destiny is playing with your friends, is enjoying hanging out with people that you know and helping each other achieve the next level of something. Like what do you feel about this end game, this current Destiny Year 2 end game?
So originally, like when Taken King launched, I was all for the new light system. I thought it was great. Thankfully, after a couple of days, people figured out how to work it towards your favor until you hit about 280, and then the light system fell flat on its face, and you really stopped progressing. And I totally agree that end game content should give you rewards that, if again, like a token system, like we've discussed, if it takes you 2 or 3 weeks of grinding tokens to progress, at least you're going to progress at some point. I've run the raid. I think I've done about 6 completions now on the raid, and I haven't changed a single light level in 3 weeks. And it's definitely not for lack of trying, but I've gotten plenty of gear that is the same light level that I had of the same item, or like 1 or 2 less. And it just it makes you just want to stop, because like most hack and slash dungeon crawler type games, which I'm gonna say Destiny is, because of the way it's designed, is a giant slot machine. But the problem is Bungie is still stacked the favor in the house way too much. I'm sure everyone here has seen the meme of spending an hour in Borderlands and you see all the loot, and spending an hour in Diablo 3 and you see all the loot, and spending an hour in Destiny and it shows a Guardian with a single engram. And that's how it feels. Especially year one. Year one felt that way. I mean, year two, it feels like you're getting a lot more engrams, but the problem is the lights level system decides to stop rewarding you after you hit 280, 290. And I would be perfectly fine with having the light system continue to reward you. Say that you have a chance of getting an engram that is 2 light levels below you up to light levels above you, and that was the range that your engrams would drop at to a point until you get to endgame status. But then the endgame status would pick up that same system. So let's say I'm in the raid, and I'm fortunate enough to finally get an engram that isn't shards. Then I at least have a chance of getting gear that's within a range that's reasonable, and the odds are in my favor that it's going to be a level increase for me. Just something that stacks the odds for the player instead of the house would be great for this game. I feel I know Luke Smith said that Forever 29 was like their saddest thing in the world. Well, I'm starting to feel Forever below 310. Like I don't know if I'm gonna get to 310, just because I've had my 20 shards be redeemed by Oryx for 2 more shards.
No way.
It's like, are you kidding me?
That's
Yeah.
got to be the worst.
There's a bit of a question as to why that happened. While we're talking about it, people suspect that this could happen. That whatever reward you get for the moldering shards isn't it doesn't go to the postmaster if you don't have room for it.
No, I've beaten Oryx and I've had space for all of my gear, and
It's
all
just
I've got is 2 shards.
It's just random. Yeah, people are all over Reddit are not getting it. I was in a match where we beat Oryx. I was in a match where we beat Oryx, and we didn't get anything. Or some of the people got stuff, and some of us got diddly squat. If
it takes the 20 moldering shards, you're supposed to get something guaranteed for those 20 moldering shards. Now,
So
people are contending that those 2 moldering shards might be on the loot table for what you can get from the moldering shards, but other people were saying that they thought that if you had one of your spaces full, it'd have been the space that you were supposed to.
Yeah, but if it's the moldering shards that are end game content, there we go back to RNG's broken, which we all know it is. And I mean, okay, it's not just broken on the raid; it was broken on trials this last weekend. I was playing. I played a lot of trials this weekend, and a lot of people were just getting their packages, and that gold tier package, you can get something good. And I was on teams that people got 300 gear, which it's okay if you're wanting to get to 300, but most of the people that are playing trials are over 300 already, so that's rubbish gear. And then I went and opened a silver tier package, and I got 310 Claws of Akamanhara. That's a broken system. If I'm getting that off of my silver tier package, but other people aren't even getting 300 gear out of their gold tier package. RNG is messed up.
I mean, like I was saying, they really need to come up with a system that does stack the odds more in the player's favor. I mean, even a token system where you can. This is what I would like to see in a token type system: is you grind, let's say, 10 shards, and for however long that takes to get 10 shards, and you can buy the top tier piece of armor. Well, for 5 to 10 more shards, why I would love to be able to grind for a piece of infused glimmer or something that then will increase my armor to the max level. So again, that lets me play with the armor that I want to. I just have to grind a little bit harder for that goal, but at least the goal's in sight. It's obtainable, and I know how long it's going to take me to get it, which is going to make me more willing to do it.
Alrighty, and with that comes the end of hour 1 of this podcast. Why don't we throw it over to Agrios and see what is going on in the world of Destiny? What do you got for us, Agrios?
All right. Well, this week we start with the return of the Trials of Osiris in the pilot edition of a brand new feature that Bungie hopes will become a weekly thing. 133,444 players made it to the Lighthouse at least once. With the steeper incline provided by new matchmaking, the winner's circle population is down from 188,442 in May. Those sun-soaked victorious warriors amounted to 16.25% of the 820,986 players who challenged them in Trials of Osiris. So only about 16.25% of those who attempted to make that journey actually got to the Lighthouse. So it's definitely harder than it was previously to get there. How did you guys feel about the trials, and how do you feel about this new statistics of the week section in the weekly update?
Why don't you hit it, Chucks?
Okay, well, I just want to. What I want to say is, I like statistics. I think it's really neat. I question some of these statistics though. Not necessarily these ones. These are pretty straightforward. But there was something that was released this week by Activision, I believe it was. How many Guardians are playing Destiny now compared to last May? And it was, if I remember right, 25 million active Guardians. Okay, so if there are 25 million people that are playing Destiny, and only 800,000 people tried trials, and these numbers are up from May, the 25 million. So let's say it's up 4 million. There's still only 800,000 people that tried trials. Okay.
To be clear, it's not 25 million active daily users. It's 25 million registered users.
I know that's 25 million people. That's 25 million people that play.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean there's 25
That's
playing every day. That just means that's how many people have gone on and created a level 1 character and potentially never even went back to the game. Even
except for the original number was what, 18 million. So that's from May. That's up 7 million people. That's still 7 million new accounts. So I understand that there's probably not 25 million people playing Destiny. We all know that. But if there's only 800,000 people trying trials after all this restructure, that shows that trials, there's something broken in trials too. And it's not just RNG. I don't know. I just wanted to put that out.
Daily users they have, which is a number we don't know.
Yeah, so have them release that instead of these bogus numbers then.
You know what we should do? We should find out how many people have gotten the beat a raid trophy, and use that percentage of 25 million.
There you go. That's excellent. I can check that right now.
Because I don't know. I did not go into trials this weekend. I wanted to go into trials this weekend, but I just didn't. I didn't have time, and it wasn't. It's not pressing. You know, what am I going to get? I'm going to get some gear that might have a higher light level, some gear that might look cool, some thematically looking cool gear, and not anything more special or less special than the stuff I can get in the regular game / in the raid. You know, nothing is pulling me in there. Not like it is with Iron Banner. I'd like to do a cross-sectioning of Iron Banner because I'm really insanely interested. You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is right now. I feel like I'm guaranteed something when I go through Iron Banner. Like if I put in enough time, you
are now in trials with the bounty system. You are guaranteed something. All you have to do is participate in 10 matches. And within those 10 matches, your team has to have 75 kills, which is attainable.
It might take you longer than 10, depending on how many people you kill, but you will eventually get there.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't even look at it. I didn't go to that guy.
That's why I told you that you should have done it regardless of whether you had aspirations of going to the Lighthouse. So that's what you're going to do this weekend with us, Remy.
Yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. Let's get some 75 kills.
10 matches of trials does not take that long.
So what kind of gear is on the chopping block for this? Like, what kind of gear can be found?
Hard mode raid end gear content type stuff. Not the same items, but the same light levels. Like, I pulled a 308 auto rifle. And I'm sure I know of people who are pulling 320 stuff, 315 stuff. Like, it's dropping high end gear. That was to date. That's the highest non-exotic primary that I've picked up in the game, and I got that from a gold tier package just for doing 10 trials matches and killing 75 dudes as a team.
Yeah, and it can be both trials gear or it can be exotic gear that you're getting. It's
interesting.
Random.
Like Shark said, he got 313 claws of the Ahamkara.
Jez, what do you make of all this?
I'm not sure because I didn't play trials.
Okay, and what was the reason for this?
I just didn't feel like it was worth any type of annoyance to even load up. Like, all I felt like I was gonna run in there and find is Red Death and Irene with Luck in the Chamber and shotguns, and I wasn't gonna have any fun, so I didn't bother.
You know what, Jez? I can very much appreciate that whole aspect, because that's something that I've been weighing in on too. Like with Iron Banner, I feel like I can go in there and make a difference. But yeah, I've been taken down very, very quickly by the Red Death. I picked one up, and I don't know how people do it. I don't know how people measure out the rate of fire with the distance to where they can take me down so quick. On the advice of my panel of friends, I picked up Red Death, and it was a lot of fun. And I feel like the stability is a lot better than the stat lets on, but it's still too wild. Like, I feel like it's a Mustang in my hands, mostly because I've been using that Suros DIS 43, just so smooth. And the stability is nice, and the range is nice. So next, I'm going to be picking up the Bad Juju because it's got some nice stability boosters.
You need to get a hawk saw before you waste anything on any of the exotics. The hawk saw is the go-to gun
from the Crucible Vanguard.
Yeah, I mean, you should just buy that one and try it. But I think that you'll like that gun, and it wrecks in PvP.
What are the rolls?
Ask Agarius. I don't know.
Well, you can get whatever roll that you would get on any other pulse rifle. The vendor roll on it has secret round, so you retain a bit more ammo when you miss shots. And I don't remember what the other ones in the vendor are. I have a non-vendor one at this point now. I got the vendor one, and I didn't care for it. I stopped using it and started using other weapons. Once I got one with counterbalance, however, I like that one. But a Hawksaw without counterbalance, I personally don't care for how the recoil works. And after I watched a video from Bife here recently comparing some things, and I think I might agree with him now that Bad Juju may be better than Red Death, aside from the whole Red Death healing thing. Like, that's the one thing that sets Red Death apart, is that fact that if you manage to get a kill, your life instantly starts shooting back up toward full. It allows you to survive a lot of situations.
The other gun that's running rampant, and it has been for a while, is Supercell.
Oh, yeah.
That's real CQC. Like, that's not really particularly good on distance.
You know what, though? It doesn't require the same amount of skill as the Red Death. I killed very many people with the Supercell. Like, it was a lot of fun to use in PvP, because it's really just kind of point in this direction and hold down the trigger, whereas I felt like the Red Death, there's like a flow to it, and there's definitely something that's, I don't know. I would like to do more playing around with it in the future, and I'm glad that I picked it up, but it's definitely going to have to go. I will look into that Hawksaw. I picked up a PDX 41 or a 45, whatever Suros pulse rifle there was. I drew a pretty interesting one with counterbalance on that.
Oh, and that's what I was going to say before. That pretty much is Hawksaw.
Okay. So the role that you saw that I had would be acceptable to try out and then understand whether or not this was going to work for me.
Yes. Yeah, you
Okay.
have a counterbalance PDX, and that's actually, for instance, that was Bife's number one pick for a Crucible dominant weapon. Bife's picks went that PDX, Hawksaw, Bad Juju, Red Death, and then I think the Iron Banner one, the name is Nerwin's Mercy.
Yes.
And then the ones after that, and then the other ones after that, like the Grasp of Malak was last, and I think there was one between the Nerwin's Mercy and that, but I can't remember what it was.
The PDX?
I tend to agree with him on that lineup.
Is the PDX the one that Triple Rec was grinding for 8 hours to get?
No, that's actually the Grasp of Malak. That's the lowest impact, highest fire rate pulse rifle in the game right now. The only one of that model I know of currently in the game. And it's actually nearly identical to the Oversoul Edict. And the Oversoul Edict actually has quite a nice roll on it. But it doesn't have as fast of a time to kill as like the Hawksaw or the two mid-range pulse rifles are the best as far as time to kill goes.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering. I was contemplating going and grinding for it to try it out, but hearing that, I won't bother then.
Crimson Warlock, did you play in the trials this weekend? And if you did or did not, did you know that you can just get sweet loot by killing 75 people and completing 10 matches?
I did not know that, and I suffered. I wasn't able to play trials, and I think this is one of the other reasons why that number is so low compared to
it's
how many players there are who play Destiny, and I think it's a testament to how many people play Destiny but are the lone wolves. Because I was ready to play trials, but every time I was ready, every friend that I knew who would be willing to do it was in trials, or they're just like, oh, I just got done and I don't want to do it anymore. And so like my problem is I have people who say they're willing to play, but it doesn't match my schedule, so they play with other people. And so when it's my turn to get on, they're trialed out, or they're in the middle of trials or something, and I've just had bad luck trying to get a fire team together.
This is why trials should be running all week and not just the weekend.
But the problem with it running all week is then you get less concentrated pools of players, and unlike other Crucible matches, you can't keep playing the same teams over and over again. You have to always be playing a fresh, different team. Interesting. You asked for these numbers before, Remy.
Yes, hit it.
I went and looked up how many players had completed the raid, and if we want to know what percentage of registered users, and we're going to assume this is just on PlayStation, of course, so this is not including Xbox, but can use this as an example anyway. The registered users are 25 million. Only 7.7% of that 25 million has completed the normal mode King's Fall raid. So that's 1,925,000 people have actually completed the King's Fall raid. So using that as a number, if we look at the 820,986 that actually participated in trials, that's about 43% of what seems to be active players based on that King's Fall normal mode completion number actually attempted trials. And that seems pretty acceptable. I imagine about 43% of the people who are, active daily people in the, Destiny probably did try trials.
Right. And you know what? That kind of goes up along the line of my friends list as well, of all the people who've tried it, didn't try it. Crimson, we did get a new crop of Guardian 1 members in. And I'm working on a page for the website so that we will have a concentrated area, so everybody who wants to add more friends can add more friends, and that's really what I've been looking at. I have a lot of friends who play Destiny on a certain schedule, and just looking for more. So check that out. I wanted to address this before we moved on. Stone asks in the chat, she says, are you gents using sidearms at all in PvP? And I will begin with and say absolutely the sidearm is my favorite thing to go with in PvP because it really. I tried to engage Guardians at a longer distance than what they want to engage with me, because this takes out a lot of auto rifles. This takes out shotguns almost entirely. It's very, very, very rare that somebody, once they're coming down the hallway at me, it's very, very rare that I don't take them out before they get here with me to me. And if they do get within that range, I just flip right to my Iron Wreath. I love the Iron Wreath. And I just lay them out, and I know these people are pissed off. I know that what they wanted to do was to come over and end my time playing with their shotgun. And what I did is I sat them down in a way that I can only describe as river-like. So it's been an insanely fun thing to use in PvP. Now, if I have to get special kills, I on like a card, Iron Banner had a card, so many primary kills, so many special kills, so many heavy kills. I fill up that primary first, I fill up the heavy last, and then I have to actually go and change to a sniper, and then just choose to cover areas and snipe that way. Like I don't ever deviate from that sidearm through the course of normal play for me in PvP, because it just sits in such a unique place. It's not super long range, it's not super short range. It's somewhere in a very, very special range where it's I'll call it the oh shit range, because when I'm switching to my sidearm, it's because they're rushing me and I have to put them down quickly. So let's go with Crimson Warlock. Do you use sidearms in PvP?
Yes, I do. I love them for the exact same reasons that you did. If anyone decides they need to close the gap to me, I'm like, nope, and I melt them with my Iron Banner sidearm, because that thing is awesome.
It's so awesome.
So I do feel like for everyone who complained about, shotguns in PvP and their ridiculous range, that conspiracy theory D was like Bungie giving all of us who hate shotguns in PvP the finger. It's just like, nope, we're keeping these shotguns around. And those are about the only shotguns that get me, are those conspiracy theories, because I can't. Sometimes I can't get them down fast enough, and that range is another one of those where it's a sniper shotgun.
So I kind of feel like when I see something like that, because I saw that I got one just like everybody does. And I thought, this is insanity. Why would Bungie do this? Well, Bungie did that because it's a test point, like, let's see what this range does now that we've changed all these other variables. They had to give that same one to everybody so that they could see what people were going to use it for. Like, I think that it's really a test. So
see, I think it was just to be fair, because they took re-rolling out of the game. So they had to make sure that everybody who wanted to be viable in the Crucible had a shotgun that was viable and fair in the Crucible. That's why I think it was there. Because it's not fair to have that type of shotgun in the game if everybody doesn't have access to it unless RNG graces you with it. And now that re-rolling's out of the game, this was the only way to balance that particular aspect, was to just simply put it there for people to be able to get as a guaranteed drop.
I think that's two glass half full thinking, but I appreciate you for having it.
Oh no, see, I see it as a glass half empty situation. They couldn't figure out how to properly balance it, so their answer was just make sure everyone has access to it so no one can bitch, because everybody has the same foot and grounds to start on.
I don't know. Who do you think bitches louder? The people who get killed over and over by a shotgun with longer range, or the people who got their shotguns taken away?
No, that's my point. The people who bitch about it have less grounds to stand on, because they can just get a shotgun and go do the same thing if they're bitching about it.
Okay, I'm glad that you took the time to explain that to me, because that makes so much more sense now.
Yeah, no one can complain RNG is not fair. I didn't get that shotgun. Now these other guys all have this sniper shotgun. It's not fair because I don't have a counter. Well, you do have a counter. Use the same shotgun against them if you're not good at dodging it.
I'm glad there's a good diversification in weapons.
Because it fires too slowly for me. I can kill far more effectively and more people with my patch A than I can with my conspiracy theory. Because I can run into a situation with two people and shotgun them both before they kill me. I can't do that with a conspiracy theory.
Jez?
I said I'm glad that leads to a diversification of weapons.
What do you think about sidearms in PvP, Jez? Do you use them?
I don't know. I don't know, like in general. I just think for a like it's pretty much a blunt instrument. It should not be a one-shot kill. It should leave you ready to die by anything, but it shouldn't be a one-shot.
Wait, for sidearms?
No, for shotguns.
Oh, I'm talking
And
about sidearms.
yeah, I know we're going the sidearms, but we switched to conspiracy theory D for talk for a second.
Yeah.
Sidearms in general, I don't use. I had a Havoc Pigeon I used when leveling, and that's about it. I just don't like the feeling of having to. It's like an auto rifle that I have to hit the button too many times for. If I had a full auto sidearm, yeah, I'd be fine.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I kind of feel like that goes into my mindset when I'm approached at that range by I'm just like I'm just pulling the trigger as fast as I can, and I think that plays into even my ability to do it. And you know what? I myself would absolutely love a full auto sidearm. That would be crazy. I don't think I've seen one roll like that.
No, they don't.
I feel like
No.
sidearms are your panic weapon. You know, like if you were in a horror film, that would be the weapon you had, so you could fire as many shots into the darkness as you could.
Right.
Try
See, I
to
feel that way about my shotgun.
See,
Okay.
in anything, you only switch to your sidearm because you ran out of primary ammo. But in Destiny, the secondary in general is most people's go-to first pick weapon.
You know what? I would like stats on that because
I would actually agree with Jez on that one. Like you were saying about how you run out of your primary targets first when you do your Iron Banner bounty. That by a long shot is the last one I fill up.
It's like you're supposed to like shoot until your clip is down. If he's still not down, switch your sidearm and finish him off. Like that's kind of the playstyle I think of what they were trying to do with sidearms.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, especially,
Absolutely.
I mean, Remy, how often do you see first bloods in Crucible from sniper rifles or shotguns? Like, it happens all the time. I feel like a lot of people enter a match and are instantly in their secondary.
Totally. Definitely.
Same here.
Definitely.
I am.
And I wonder if that was the way Bungie wanted it to be. You know, I mean, it had to be somewhere on it because they give you rounds to those things right at the beginning. Can you imagine how much different Crucible would be if you had to wait for the special ammo to show up at the special ammo crate?
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole game would be so much different, and probably the way it should be. Probably we could talk another 45 minutes about that, but I want to get through the sidearm so we can keep going with the news because we have about half an hour left. Let's see, where were we? Agrios, do you use sidearms? Or you said you use shotguns, huh?
I don't use sidearms in PvP. I do use them a bit in PvE, but I feel like currently the meta shotgun's range is so long and a properly rolled sniper's range is so short, and the shortness of the snipers are definitely necessary due to the size of the maps. It's not like we have tons of sprawling maps and such. I feel like those get so close to get each other in the middle that the sidearm loses its place with me. I feel like, yeah, I might be able to take someone down at slightly more range than my shotgun, but I feel like at that point I should have been putting primary shots in and retreating or rushing him with my shotgun for a more certain kill. I also feel like by running a sidearm in PvP, I'm costing myself the ability to get myself out of potential oh shit situations when I get unknowingly flanked by a guy. You know, he jumps down off a ledge right beside me. I can turn with a shotgun and take him down instantly before he does something similar to me, like 2-hit melees me or whatever. But a sidearm, I'm not in that right next to him CQC situation going to escape with my life. And I just feel like in most of the situations, I would either benefit more from running a shotgun or a sniper over my sidearm. And although it has that perfect little tiny little niche that it's the best one for, that niche is too tiny for me to justify running it.
Yeah,
I think maybe if it had a little more range and snipers were longer range than they are and shotguns were even shorter range than they are, it would have a home. But right now, it doesn't with me.
Yeah, you're much more of a Rambo runner as well. So I could see that. I could see that calculation not being as necessary. And you know what's crazy is once I start running a sniper rifle because I need to get my special kills, I switch to a machine gun because I feel like that balances out. Like if I start missing with the sniper rifle on there and they're coming, that layer of range is machine gun range. So it's I don't know.
I know one thing I mentioned since we're talking about this stuff. I mentioned it to, I think, Shark. Might have been you earlier in the week. I don't remember. But I know when I could totally see, the more I played Destiny, the more I could see how hand cannons at one point were a secondary weapon. Especially with the power they used to have. They definitely could have been a secondary weapon. I know many times I was running a hand cannon as my primary, and I was kind of at a loss for what I should have as my secondary, because what I really wanted was like a submachine gun. Yeah. And Destiny didn't really have a submachine gun answer to anything. Hand cannon's kind of close, but like Jez said, you got to pull your trigger really fast, and it does definitely kind of kick up out of the way. And since you can't just hold the trigger down, it makes it a little harder to control at rapid fire mode like that. So still not quite the rule, but I know that's what I always wanted when I was running a hand cannon for my secondary. So
interesting. All this talk about PvPs is making me want to play some Iron Banner. Sharks, do you run sidearms?
No, I don't like them. I don't like them at all. Yeah, people question how I play, and they say, "Oh, the way you play, you play like a shotgun person, or you play like a sidearm person." Really, because I run and gun, and I'm up in your face. But I'm one of those kind of people that you hate to meet in PvP, because I run up in your face, and if I don't finish you off with my Hawksaw, I pull out my sniper and shoot you in the face. So I love my snipers. There's nothing better than having a sniper as a secondary, because you can get those people that are hiding behind the tree during trials, and if you need to, you can always pull that out and use it as a last resort too, because usually they're right in front of you at that point. But yeah, no, I don't like sidearms.
Thank you for that succinct answer. All right, so that is that. Why don't we keep on keeping on, Agros?
All right. So the next thing they bring up is that there is a November update in the pipeline, packed with improvements to quest and bounties that Bungie's already promised, along with some other promises that they have yet to make. It's been implied that we may see this update as early as Tuesday. At the end of the update, he says that Cosmo will be holding down the community desk all by himself. He'll have blog updates and creations and sweet tweets, and maybe even some patch notes to share if all goes well. And this is when referencing the fact that Deej will be out of town on vacation in Chicago, his hometown, Chicago. Well, it's his hometown, but where he used to be from. And so that definitely implies we may see the next update as early as Tuesday. As part of the November update, they've mentioned that they are authorizing Banshee to sell weapon parts for Glimmer, much to the relief of a large chunk of the community. This was a huge barrier to people being able to infuse and use and try out weapons in Destiny. And being a veteran player with lots of hours in and lots of build-up parts, I can't imagine what it's like for some of the newer players out there.
I agree.
They say that we'll see more welcome changes to the in-game economy coming with the update in December. And they mentioned that Petra will have a use for Etheric Light, as well as Eris having a use for Worm Spore. So hopefully some much needed changes to the economy coming. And I'd be interested to see what else is going to come in this November update. They didn't really elaborate on what else is specifically going to be in it.
Excellent.
I hope that if they start doing this where you can sell stuff, it's going to be sell everything and you can get whatever you want kind of thing, because there are some people in the community that have tons and tons and tons of these things that people don't have. And it would be a shame if it only went one way.
Agreed. Moving on.
The final days of the Festival of the Lost are upon us.
don't forget that your candy consumables, gifts of the lost, and rare quality masks, the blue ones, will be removed from all character inventories when the festival ends. So make sure you use up all those candy telemetries and glimmer consumables in the next couple days. Additionally, the festival-themed items provided by the Eververse Trading Company will no longer be available for purchase.
Sad. I didn't
Yep.
buy any of those things. Did you buy any of those things, Zagreus?
Not yet. No, I haven't.
Are you planning to buy any of those things?
I don't know. I might. I'm considering it. I
Get
have
on it. Do it.
PSN credit that I got given to me from PlayStation. Just gave me $10 credit for going to the PlayStation experience, and I have the silver that Bungie originally gave me. So I was thinking about buying something limited time, but I don't know. We'll see. I got a couple days to decide if I want to or not.
Sharks, did you buy any of that stuff?
Yeah, I spent $20 to get all my coins, so I could go and get that stupid ghost mask, and then I spent the rest of my money on the Michael Jackson dance. I'm contemplating getting the other two, but I haven't done it yet. We also
Apparently,
worth of money.
Apparently, one of them is like a backstreet dance.
Yeah, one's the Backstreet Boys. Yeah,
One should look at the dance, yeah.
And the other one's just like boo, scare you, kind of thing.
But that one seemed pretty cool and was relatively cheap.
But here's part of the thing that stopped me from buying it at this point, and this is probably going to go somewhere else, so maybe I shouldn't bring it up. But what the big head honcho from Activision said this week about DLCs and microtransactions. Did you guys?
Yeah,
read that?
Talking about them living peacefully together, even though we haven't seen them, even though microtransactions were introduced after.
Yeah, it means that it's gonna hit us full bore in the head for Christmas time, and they're going to be trying to rake in the dough. That's what it means. So I don't know. I'm kind of iffy about getting certain things, because if it's going to be going all the time like that, I mean, there's going to be. And
well, that's what I expected to continue all the time like that. Before they ever said anything, that's what I expected.
Yeah, but it's going to be more than emotes. You guarantee it. You can bet your bottom dollar that it's going to be all kinds of stuff.
Still just cosmetic.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
No, they did. They say that. Bungie specifically said that they were only going to do cosmetic microtransactions.
Jez, did you buy any of those dances?
Yeah, of course.
What did you buy?
All of them.
Oh, really? Any particular reason?
Well, not really. Just that I am a horrible collector. And if I wouldn't be able to get it until next year, and I knew I could have got it, I would have been kicking myself the entire time.
I think that I'd be much more inclined to buy them. I want to buy that Michael Jackson one. It's a really long animation and it looks really cool, and but I think that I'd be much more inclined to buy them if I was able to use them with other things. Okay, you took away my point, and so now I have this sweet formal bow. I'm so down for the formal bow. It
Destiny
just fits. It just fits into so many situations. But I don't want to get rid of the formal bow so I can do the Thriller dance.
Well, I honestly can't imagine that they're not trying to find a way to have them to be able to change as well.
Yeah.
They probably did find a way already. It's called Destiny 2. Last gen limitation. So everybody drink.
Yep.
Destiny 2, The Lion King. Crimson Warlock, did you buy any of those dances?
I bought the zombie one, and I was thinking of picking up the others until this other article came out, and now I'm just gonna wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why I'm not. I know what article you're talking about. As far as them saying that paid DLCs have a place in the same world as microtransactions. See, for me, I just said, yeah, that's kind of what I figured. How did this article? What about this article changed your feelings towards spending money on microtransactions?
Well, I guess most of it is I really wanted the Kotaku article to be more true than it has been, I guess, and so I'm waiting to see how actual outcome happens with Activision. I felt really burned in a lot of ways with the backlash from the Taken King editions. How all went down around E3, and how it kind of seemed like there was a big backtrack, and we need to fix this type of problem that was going on with the editions, and just how a lot of things changed for certain types of editions, but not not all of them, I guess. And so I'm just kind of like I really hope that the Kotaku article is more true in that the Eververse is going to give back to the players in a way, and mostly because honestly for the excuse, and I'm going to call it an excuse, of claiming that this is just to support the live team. Eververse has made plenty of money from what I've seen through the community to support much more development than just the live team, I'll say. And so I feel like if it feels just more of an Activision money grab in a lot of ways, and not being able to see as much more free content.
But I
from
agree.
what the article from the way that the article sounded, it's just more of, we're going to put in both, and you're gonna enjoy both, or you're not going to enjoy the game anymore.
That's totally where I'm coming from too, because you listen to the way that article, the way it sounds from that guy, he's totally saying from a business standpoint. And I to be quite honest, I have had this conversation with you, Agrius, about a lot of people think, what Kotaku said about the microtransactions are going to be for stuff for the Guardians, because everything else that they've published has come true. Well, you know what? That's really short-sighted from people. This is a business, and they are trying to make money. And for anybody out there that honestly believes that, this microtransaction is going to get you something extra, I think they're really, really short-sighted, because they're, and I even said this to you. I said this in a discussion. We were like, who's to say that they don't turn around and say, okay, yeah, we're going to give you this, but that's actually something that was going to be in the DLC, but you're not ever going to know that. So,
right, exactly. Like, the people think that, like, the DLCs, like, people say, they're holding back content. I hear this all the time. They're holding back content. The content's on the disc already. Well, of course some of the stuff, they're developing this stuff all simultaneously. Like, if it suits their budget to, like, develop all of the Hive-looking, like, level parts, fine, then they're going to develop that all at the same time, and that might be on the disc, but that doesn't mean that all the AI programming's been done to, like, program what actually is going to take place in that content that's there.
Exactly, and that's what's disturbing, though, because now Activision is stepping in and saying, you know what, we tried this, and we know that these foolish Guardians will spend money just to get a glow-in-the-dark skull mask that is absolutely useless. Let's do some more. Let's screw them over some more.
Well, I disagree with that. I don't think it's foolish Guardians, and I don't think it's about screwing them over. I mean, that'd be like saying that, like, a clothing store that puts out designer clothing is screwing people over by putting out designer clothing instead of just Through the Loom T-shirts.
Yeah, except for that, you guys talked about this last week where I wasn't here. Yeah, but wait a minute. You guys talked about this last week. That skull mask was not a guaranteed buy.
Right.
It wasn't.
So
that's still just cosmetic.
That's foolish Guardians spending money to maybe get something in RNG, and they're willing to do that. You think that they're not willing to buy all kinds of other stuff? And that's where Activision's coming from. They're like, okay, we're going to really start screwing these guys now, because they're willing to throw their money at the screen, like Luke Smith said.
For transacting other stuff. Where are you getting that?
Well, now, to be fair, what you're talking about is people buying things not everyone's buying things to think, oh, I'm buying this because it's going to fuel my next expansion. There's no way that every Guardian that's playing the game or that would buy an expansion has bought $20 worth of silver. The
No, not everybody, but there are some people like
the buying of silver has paid for them making the emotes that they've made, and for all we know, it could have been what is making our holidays be different than last year.
So here's what I think, looking at it from a business perspective. I don't think it's not like they have a separate bank account that they're saying, okay, this is the Eververse trading company money. We can't touch this for anything but live team. It just all goes into their profit margin. And the more profit that Bungie and Activision make from Destiny, the more resources they're going to put toward getting more players to play it and making it something that players want to play because they're making more money from it. And as far as them saying that this is to support their live team, I think they're saying that this was the solution they came up with to put more time and resources into making Destiny something interesting on a daily basis. They look at their live team and say, okay, we have this X amount of live team. This is how much they're working. This is what we can do. This is what we wish we could do. But with our current profits, we can't afford to expand the live team to do what we would want to do. If we can raise our profit margin on all of Destiny to X amount, then we can hire this many more people and invest this much more time into this many more assets, and there you go. That's how we get more content out of it.
Except for that, from the beginning, Bungie turned around to everybody. This is pre-launch of Destiny, that you are going to be getting new stuff daily. We are going to be changing things all the time. So that means that was in their budget. So don't turn around and say now
they want to do more daily.
Yeah, but they weren't. Yeah, but where has it happened? We haven't seen it to begin with.
All right, here we are.
I think the quote was more new stuff to do daily.
Yeah, that is what it was. And I think that's like they provide the bounties for you to do daily. Those things change for you every single day. So every day you log in, there's a new list of objectives that weren't there yesterday for you to do today. That's what that quote was talking about.
Okay, so I think it's safe to say that we don't know where these dollars are going. We don't know anything on that side of the equation. And the people who are buying these things and enjoying them, I'm happy for them. I do think that it was ridiculous to have that skull hidden behind a gambling style setup with real money. I hope that they don't,
especially in a game that involves kids.
Right, and I hope that they don't go down that road.
Oh, it's going to happen every time there's an event. It's happened once and it's been successful, so it's going to keep on happening.
If anyone at Bungie's listening, put that behind a boss.
Right, put that behind the end of all three of those. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, after the quest.
See how much people like WoW events for bosses.
They're not going to spend the money they spent. Like Sharks spent $20 that mask.
No, but they will. They will, because there are still people out there that just don't want to do it. And so
but there's enough people on on that knife edge, though. Like me, I'm on the knife edge. I have that $10 credit in my account there, and that 400 silver, and I'm on the knife edge to spend it all on packages to get the cool flaming skull mask. But I'm right on. I don't know.
Okay, so
behind a box, I would guarantee I would
put two masks. Put two masks out there that you want to buy then. And then you're guaranteed to get one, but if you want the other one, you have to spend some money.
Look at
the other problem with this is how much RNG is involved in just the quest. And for example, I've played fairly often for my time to try and complete these quests, but I'm still 2 masks away from RNG to complete my other 2 quests that I need to do. So I don't even know if I'm going to be able to complete all those quests. And if there was a big prize at the end for completing all of those, I'd feel pretty cheated if I'm like, look, I spent, all of my available time during the event and I couldn't finish it because the game cheated me out of it. And that's another issue I feel where they need to address it a little bit better, Let me use my paper scraps to actually get the masks that I want.
I feel like once I found out that that those quests that they gave us only gave us the same stuff that we got from filling up our candy bags from from Guardian kills or from PvE kills, I just stopped doing them. Like I just deleted them from my characters because I'm not interested in it. Like I want the speaker's mask, but because I want the speaker's mask, not because I want it to go grind out for this one bag of candy or for this one blue thing. Like it didn't make any sense to me anymore. I thought for some reason that once you did all of those things, maybe you got another one, and that's how you got that sweet mask.
I find it funny you have to collect pretty much every mask to get more bells.
Right. So it's clear to me now that that Tess is just taken, and that Oryx is just reaping all of our dollars. So don't buy it. You know, like, wouldn't that be crazy if that's what the Awoken were? Some kind of Taken, like some kind of polar opposite of the Taken, or something like that. But we are, like, rapidly running out of time. And I really enjoyed all of the conversation. And really, I tell these guys, for those listening and just watched me have absolutely no control over the conversation, this is what I want to happen. Like, I want these guys to say what they have to say, and I would feel bad if they didn't get a chance to speak their mind before our time was up, which is rapidly approaching. So, Agrios, why don't you get us back on track?
Okay, well, more or less, that's pretty much the end of it for the actual update. Movie of the week this week, the winner is Carl Sagan in Destiny. He did one of his famous talks where many of you, I'm sure, have heard it before, and has put to Scenes of Destiny. I have to say, though, that this is not the first time that's been done. There were several of these before Destiny even launched. I can remember one was extremely good back when I was one of the mods on the subreddit. So there's definitely a couple of these out here to be had, but it's a great speech, and Destiny's a very fitting game to pair images to that speech with. The second movie of the week this week was a triple down punch in Trials of Osiris. We had a clearly OP Sunbreaker do one of his punches that leaves a sunspot and take down the entire Trials team just with that punch.
Melee should not be grenades. I'm just saying.
And the final video was a collage of music videos set to amusing or innovative scenes from Destiny.
Excellent.
That wraps up the update. They did announce the winners from the Halloween costume contest. I encourage everyone to go check out those. The Engram Thinker and the Eris Party Wipe were two of my favorites. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I did see one interesting article that I wanted to bring up. It was about the ban hammer, or I should say the reset hammer, back in the days of Halo Reach. Apparently, Bungie was a little more willing to be a little harsher when punishing AFKers and such in the days of Halo, to the point where if you were caught AFKing, you would be warned. And if you persisted to continue this behavior, after being warned, they would actually reset your account.
Crazy.
Holy
moly. Man, that's crazy. Resetting the account. This was back when I don't even know which Halo was this.
Halo Reach.
Oh man, I can't even imagine that, because the investment game on Halo Reach was pretty good still. As a matter of fact, it contained something that I was really looking forward to in Destiny, which was variants on the same thing. So, like, for instance, you would get the military police helmet, and it would have just the regular set, and then you could earn this other unlock from it, and it would have a different set of, like, little toggleable looking things on it. Or, like, there was a certain piece of chest armor that you could get that had like a robot arm. I don't know. It was just, there was a lot of really cool stuff going on in there, and I can't even imagine having that reset.
Wait all their credits and commendations, and once they started handing them out 10, 20,000 of a time, the idler population dropped by about 98% in the span of 2 weeks.
Wait, it dropped by 98%?
Yeah, the idler population.
Oh,
were having constant problems with AFKers, and then over the course of about 2 weeks, it was just gone. There was just no more problem with it.
Right, because those people didn't play anymore.
Right.
And I guess they weren't playing to begin with, so this wasn't really that much of a difference.
So what about, if the people are consistently AFKing over and over again, they're warned about it and ignore the warning and continue the behavior of AFKing over and over again in strikes and such, or even leaving too many matches in a row and getting a warning from Crucible you've left over your quota of matches this week. If you continue this behavior, your progress will be reset. And they just nix that character. Maybe not even all 3 of your characters. They just nix one of your characters. I mean, that's still pretty devastating.
Definitely. I just can't even imagine it. What else you got?
That's about all I got. That was the main interesting thing I pulled from the community this week. So I more or less that's pretty much all I got.
Excellent. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about before we go? Nothing Destiny on your minds? Excellent. Well, then we can get out of here on time. We got 5 minutes.
Time for shout-outs.
Do check out the Extra Life campaign starting this weekend. I was supposed to have a bunch of information in front of me, and that didn't happen, so it's not here. But Guardian 1 is taking part in it, and I mean a ton of other groups are taking part of it. It's really grown to be something big at this point in the Destiny community, big and beautiful, and it's, I don't know, very exciting. I like helping others, which is what Guardian 1 is all about, or at least in theory it is. I don't feel like we've really gotten anything to the point to where I can say that I'm happy with the Guardians helping Guardians portion, but we're working on it, and I don't know. As Destiny reveals itself to us, the further on time goes by, I don't know. I feel like many people will fall into what they want to do. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the future of Destiny. I'm excited about things I want to buy for real money. But at this point, I just don't even know. I don't even know what I would buy.
Some information on that Extra Life. It is on November 7th and 8th. It's to benefit Seattle Children's Hospital. It begins at 8 a.m. with Versus the Stream. Then we'll have True Vanguard, Guardian Outpost, Resolute, Safe Gamers, Mesa Sean, Destiny Follower, M-Tashed, Defdel, Aim Assist Gaming, Sweet Scope Podcast, Joe reading it there, LG Knight, Data, Guardian Radio, Crucible Radio, GTL Outlaws, Lady Desiree, Chariona, Planet Destiny, Triple Rec, Dungeon Protocols, and this last group at 12 a.m. Central Time. I'd never heard of them before, but I can't imagine they must be a ragtag group of somebody, trailing up the end there. Guardian 1? I don't know.
Ragtag for certain, but awesome and amazing. I really appreciate everyone who's listened to this podcast. Everyone part of Guardian 1. If you've worn the Guardian 1 emblem, I really appreciate it, and I hope that you got out of it what you were hoping to get out of it. And if not, come see me, and we will get you there, because there's plenty to do, and there's Discord. I'm really excited about using this new chat program that Jez pointed out to us over the weekend. It's amazing. Discord. If you have a iPhone or an Android phone, there's also a desktop application. This is going to change things for this group as far as a central location for talking about everything. So very exciting. But let's do shout outs because we're out of time. Sharks, take it away.
Okay, this is going to be really, really easy. I want to thank Activision's publishing CEO, Eric Hirschberg, for coming out with that article this week, because it's made an awesome chat tonight. Thanks, guys.
Agrios.
Yeah, I forgot who I was going to shout out to, so we'll just shout out. Oh, let's shout out to Extra Life. We were just talking about that. That's a good shout out. Shout out to all the Guardians who are working together to help do this. And let's not just specify this. There's all kinds of other great runs. I've never seen a game with so many gamers get together to do so many runs for charity, other besides Destiny, by a large margin. So shout out to everybody who wants to do more with it.
I like it, Jez.
Shout out to Josh Hamrick, which I'm sure needs all the help he can get launching his indie game Fallout 4.
The mastermind. Crimson Warlock.
So tonight I'm going to shout out to a Guardian who's been with us for a long time, and his birthday is tomorrow. So my shout out's to K-Dub Jr. on the PSN. K-Dub's son, he's fun to play with. He's been an awesome member of the clan, and K-Dub is great. He's a great support. Those guys, both of them are just awesome. So happy birthday, K-Dub Jr.
Yeah, happy birthday, K-Dub Jr.
Happy birthday, K-Dub Jr. My shout out is to Flounder, whose birthday is also tomorrow. Happy birthday, Flounder.
Happy birthday, Flounder.
Happy birthday, Flounder. And she gets Fallout 4 for me for her birthday. How sweet is that?
That is the coolest birthday present ever.
Right? And you know what? I feel bad for her because it seems like every November 6th there is a new video game being launched.
There is. It's always this time of year you get a couple good ones.
Right. All right. That wraps up episode 63. I'd like to thank everyone listening for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions or suggestions for topics to be discussed on the show, please leave them in the comments below or send them to feedback@guardian1.net, and we will see you next week.